Hello viewers, so it's part 2 of the Pirelli car pack. Ross cast his eye over the second part of this collection. Let's see what he thought.
Hi there guys, now welcome back to the second part of the March car pack, the Pirelli car pack. And today we have with us the 1971 Ferrari 312P, powered by a 3 litre flat 12 with 444 horsepower to boot, and it just looks fantastic, doesn't it? It's like an old style Le Mans car. As we get into the cockpit of the car, you can see that random stick with the rear view mirror on it, and that's quite odd, but there for importance, it's there for, you need to see behind you, let's be honest, and it does a good job of that, I guess. The car does look very random from the cars we see today. I mean, you don't see these cars on the track anymore either, mainly because they were too dangerous or something, I don't know. This shape of car is very original to this car and the cars of its type back in 1970. Very swooping body. The only problem is this one seems to have absolutely no rear downforce whatsoever, so you crawl through the corners, and what you'd expect in this car, you'd expect to go lightning fast through the corners around everything, but it just doesn't seem to do that. It has very low rear grip. But other than that, the car is fantastic to drive. It's one of those old nostalgia factors of adding cars like this to the game. You get to drive a car that you or any younger audiences wouldn't have seen, like racing around a track or in like museums or anything like that. But Forza does it right by putting it into the game so we can drive it incredibly fast and incredibly dangerously. I can guarantee you probably wouldn't be able to drive the car in real life like this, otherwise you'd get slapped by Enzo Ferrari or his son or some major boss at Ferrari, I don't know. Anyway, other than that guys, I recommend this car just to drive it, just for the pure fun of this car. It feels alive to drive. And let's move on to our next car, shall we? Right, here's our next car, guys. It's the 1966 Ford Country Squire, powered by a 315 6.4 litre FE V8 engine. And it sounds fantastic when it's coming through a station wagon. You got to remember, this is a station wagon. It's not a proper muscle car, but as a dad or as a mum, you would be proud driving this car, knowing that you've got something big and heavy under your right foot to just throw into corners. And someone commented on the preview video saying that there was pretty awesome drifting, and well, you're just going to get more of that really. The only reason I'm doing this on here is because this car slides so well and so easily. It doesn't deserve to be a track car, it deserves to be a Formula D car. It drifts like nobody's business, and I think that's just to do with the amount of weight it's got to throw around or something. But it's brilliant, it really is. It really is brilliant, and I think it's probably the best drifting car I've ever seen, or driven in this case. I'm used to Japanese stuff, to drift cars and like a big block American V8 cars, and it corners quite well for an old car. But because it's American and we know that the suspension is quite soft because it's a family car, it's not meant to go on a track. You can hold it in ridiculous slides. You can pretty much get 90 degrees sideways and still recover it from there in this car, and that's what makes this car just so awesome. I love this car simply for the fact it's a station wagon and I get to drive it in a video game. A station wagon with a V8 engine. I wonder if you could put a NASCAR engine in. That would be awesome. That'd be amazing. You'd just end up sliding everywhere. But other than that, the car is fun to drive, it's cheap to buy in the game, and I'd recommend buying it just because it's a station wagon. You don't drive these in video games. Do it now, do it, go out and drive one. Yeah, honestly, you will drive it with a huge smile on your face as you go sideways around every corner. Just bury your foot deep within the carpet and you spin up the rear wheels. It is brilliant to drive. One of my favourite cars to recommend, definitely. Other than that guys, let's move on to our next car, and I'll see you then. Right guys, this is our next car. It's the 2010 Renault Clio RS. It's the Cup model if you were a bit confused. It's powered by a 2 litre transverse 4 engine, and I'm kind of disappointed in this one, to be fair. I mean, the interior is kind of boring. than most modern cars. You normally see a lot of LEDs. This one looks like a 1999 Peugeot 206 interior that they've just recycled. And the gauges look okay. The gauges are alright. They're the only thing that Renault seem to be doing well this time. The outside of the car is pretty much the same old Clio 197, only with different front bumper and different front wings, if I'm perfectly honest. I've added one more horsepower to the engine, but it doesn't seem to be doing much other than burning the inside wheel away. The diff cannot take this amount of power for some reason. The old Clio I used to race in a series, and that used to be the best car I'd ever driven, up to that point anyway. Until I got into this car. I'd actually driven the Cup car before I got into this, and I was shocked because this car is a lot worse than the old one. The suspension is a lot softer. Granted, the other one was a performance car, an uprated race car, but still the suspension was really soft. Brakes were horrible. The turning's okay, but the suspension really doesn't help it out, and the diff is awfully broken. But it's still cheap enough to buy in the game, and you can still throw it around and have some fun with it. So if you're a die-hard Renault fan, I recommend this, but everyone else, just don't buy it. It's awful. Right, let's move on to the next car before I get depressed. Right guys, this is our next car on the list. It's the 2012 Ultima GTR, powered by a 7-litre 565 horsepower Corvette engine. And this car weighs just under 990 kilos, so yeah, it's pretty much a rolling rocket. And it's coming out of England as well, which is why I'm more than happy to review it. I'm only joking. The car is fantastic to drive, especially with that gorgeous soundtrack. It's got British old school sports car handling with American grunt force, so it's pretty much two nations coming together to create one hell of a car, and I like it all the same. The car handles quite American actually, rear end happy, very rear end happy. You have to keep taps on that at all costs because the rear spoiler does not help with aero in slow corners whatsoever, so you're pretty much on your own with 565 horsepower smacking you in the back of the head. Come on, we want to go, come on! And that's pretty much all she wrote really. This car is fantastic to drive, definitely one for beginners and experienced alike. It's just one hell of a car to drive. I had amazing amounts of fun after jumping from the Clio into this. I pretty much had the shock of my life when I turned it on. I was like, that's a Corvette engine. Oh my god, I'm going to have so much fun. It brakes fantastically well. The tyres grip tremendously well for the amount of power that's going through the rear wheels, and it's definitely one of the cars I'd recommend driving from this pack. I recommend all of them really. The Clio is probably the only downside of this pack, but this car is fantastic to drive. And we're moving on to our next car, which is the Weissman, which is also another rear-wheel drive powerhouse of a car. Let's go. Right, here's our last car in the car pack, guys. It's the 2011 Weissman GT MF5, powered by a 4.4 litre BMW V8, producing 547 horsepower. That's a lot for a rear-wheel drive car, and it's because it's turboed as well. You get that lovely spooling sound of the turbos, and it fires off like a rocket. It's a brilliant car just to drive. You may be thinking, oh, that looks pretty similar to the 2010 model. Are you sure you just haven't cheated and put modified bits under the 2010 one? No, this is the 2011 one. It's, I'll tell you the exact changes that have happened. It's been lowered. They've moved the front axle forward slightly to get better suspension movement. They've added a front splitter and a rear spoiler, but as you can tell, that really hasn't helped the handling in any way, shape or form. I drove the old Weissman before I hopped into this one, and it was quite calm and controlled, and it was very a casual driving experience. I jump in this one, and it's like an animal. They've released something. I don't know what they've done. They've changed something in the car to make it as undrivable as possible. But it is fun to drive nonetheless. I mean, you can hold this thing in tremendous slides. This is, for a better word, a traditional British sports car. Talk to anybody who's owned a Jensen Healey or, you know, a Frog-Eyed Sprite or something like that, or an old TVR. They'll tell you how much fun it is to drive a sports car, a two-seater sports car, right on the ragged edge, because they're always on the right ragged edge. And this car is fantastic to drive, it really is. But on a whole, I recommend this entire car pack. It's probably one of the best I've reviewed so far, And all I can say is turn 10, keep up the good work, keep sending us cars, and some tracks, please. That would be nice. Right, take care, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's been Ross.
So a successful pack for Ross then. He certainly enjoyed the range of cars that are in there, had a lot of fun with them, great body language. I like the Ferrari 312P. I thought it was a fascinating and sort of had an old look to it, but again, so much power, so little weight. Looks like a lot of fun to drive around some of the circuits. It's nice to see some of the different cars that the Turn 10 have been sort of finding and developing and bringing forward. They are bringing a wide range forward, and they're always beautifully modelled. You know, so much detail in these models now, so lots of fun to play and get around the circuit. And Ross clearly enjoyed it. The station wagon as well, fantastic drifting action. So that's it from Ross. He's going to be back soon with some more car packs. Of course, there's the Porsche car pack. We're going to be going into some detail about that. There's also the tuning guide. The tuning guide is in process. It's been massively delayed, and basically that's my fault, really. I want the tuning guide to be right. If it's not if it's not helpful enough, there's no point in putting it forward, and I want it to be a guide that's going to help you guys. And if it's going to take 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 10 weeks to produce, then it will take that long, and that's really what's caused the delays in producing that. But ultimately, I'd like the tuning guide to improve your driving and improve your opportunity on the leaderboards and your race pace and everything else. So it really does make you a better driver as well as tuner at the end of the day. So that's all going to be coming soon. But that's it from me for now, viewers. As ever, we'll have more Forza Motorsport news next week.